So today's podcast is all about the word no and being able to say no as well, which is, I think, one of the most important words as a leader is that no is a sentence. And I know that some people listening to this will be, Pete, what are you on about? I've no issue with saying no to stuff. And I think there are people out there who don't have an issue with saying no, but there's lots of people who do have an issue saying no to things, and I'm one of them, or historically have always been one of them, and it's been a real learning curve for me to learn when to say no to things. So when I first started the Flagship Partners business, the answer was always yes. What's the question? And interestingly, Neville Wright, who was the founder of Kiddie Care, who sold for multi-millions of pounds, his book is called The Answer is Yes, What's the Question? And I think by having that attitude does help you grow your business. I think by always saying yes to things and working out how to do it later, I think is a really, really positive thing. So I'm not saying no to that. I'm not saying that's not the right thing to do and to have that mentality. I think as a business, it's good to have a yes mentality. And I think that creates a collaborative working environment. I think saying yes to things is a really good way of growing, learning and developing. So I think the health warning I put on this is that it is good to say yes to things, but what the purpose of me saying the answer is no and sort of learning to be able to say no is sometimes it's also the right thing to say no. And what I mean by that is taking that opportunity to really focus, that we need to really focus on the things that are most important to us. And I think building a business that has a yes mentality, having a team of people that have a yes mentality, I think when you speak to your clients, having a yes mentality is really, really important. But I think as a leader and as an individual, we need to be able to say no when the time's right. And what I mean by that is if we take that into our own lives as a leader to saying yes to everything, it's a quick way to overwhelm and burn out. So I think that as individuals, we need to be really focused on making sure that we're only doing the things that are most important. Now, there's a number of ways that we can do that. And I think as leaders, it's really, really important, and business owners, to make sure we know exactly what we should be doing from day to day, because there comes a point when we're early on in our journey, that we need to do whatever is necessary to get results, right? But there comes a time when there's a transition from where initially money is more important than our time. So it's all about bringing money into an organization. It's all about creating money, creating wealth. And then at a certain point, our time becomes more valuable than money. And over time, that time becomes increasingly valuable, particularly as our wealth or value grows as an individual. And it's really important to recognize that. There's many a busy person out there who goes, well, I don't want to pay someone else to do that, so I'll just do it myself. And the challenge you've then got is that you end up doing everything and burning out, and actually your sanity and your well-being is really, really linked to the amount of time you have available. So there comes a time when no is a good answer for you as an individual, for you as a person. And recognizing when that time is really, really important. So how I help people to say no is I will focus on creating a vision of our life or your life that is really, really motivational and important and energizing for you. And we really start to build a picture of what that looks like. We weave in the sounds of what that vision is. We make sure that it's something that we know when we've achieved it, and it's really something to aim and strive for. So it's a bit like a goal, but we really create some clarity around what that vision looks like. And we make sure that it includes your professional outcomes and also personal outcomes as well. So we know exactly which direction it is we're heading. And the thing is at that point, once we're really, really clear on what our vision is, we can start to let go of the things that don't matter. And we don't necessarily cling on to the things that are less important. We just focus on getting the outcomes that are most important. And prioritizing like that, it takes some work, it takes some effort. But it's really, really important for us to make sure we do that, because we can have anything. We just can't have everything, if that makes sense. And that's something that I've learned, that we can achieve and do whatever it is we want to do. We can, there's the world is our oyster. What we can't do is have everything, and we can't do everything, and we can't be everything. So if we can't have, do, and be everything, we need to be something. We need to fall for something, which means there's things we say yes to, and there's things that we need to be really careful about saying no to. So by creating a vision, that helps create a way forward. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to really focus on our values and our life values and what's most important to us. Because when I say no to you and you're listening and thinking, oh, but that means that might be very self-centered, for example, or you might have challenges around that. Now, that comes down to a values decision, and values are really, really important for us as leaders, because they're the principles and morals that help guide us to make decisions about what's right and what's wrong. And sometimes things aren't right or wrong. Sometimes there's an element of grey, and there's a bit of right and a bit of wrong in there. What we need to do is work out what's right for us and what's really, really right for us. And the way we do that is by focusing on our values. And through a process called values elicitation, I will be able to find out what your top 10 life values are. And your conscious mind will create some of those, and your unconscious mind will create some. And one of the things we can do is then narrow down that process of life values to find out what's really going on and what's really most important to you. And then once we're really aware of what they are, we can also make sure that we order them correctly and appropriately. So we can work out what values are serving you best. So a good example for me would be that, for example, having a value of money is a really, really good life value, for example, because it drives us to go and pursue wealth, to pursue money. And that can be a really, really valuable life value. The challenge is when you then become burnt out and overwhelmed, if money's still a high life value, it might be worth revisiting, because it could be that's leading to the burnout, for example. Or hard work could be a value for you. And hard work is a valuable thing to value, because it means that you work hard. But again, it might lead you into this route of burnout. And one of the challenges to realize is that what got you here won't necessarily get you there. And sometimes the way to grow is to let go of a previously held value or belief, and then to instill a new value and belief which serves better. So from a coaching perspective, it's really, really important to understand what our values are to help us prioritize, but also work out what values could do with adjusting, because actually they're contributing to the issues that we're facing. And then by modifying those values or editing them or reevaluating them, what we can do is come up with a set of values that are really going to drive us forward, that are going to create progress, that are going to create development, that sit really comfortably with us. And that's how we progress and learn and grow. And that's how we grow our businesses, and that's how we grow as individuals. So there's a couple of key elements there. One is to be brave enough to say no. The second is to create a mission and vision that is really motivating for us, that fulfills our desires from a individual and from a professional perspective. So it hits everything that we would like to achieve. And then what we need to do is make sure that we get values alignment. Okay, so making sure that the values that we currently hold true are properly serving us. The ones that aren't properly serving us, we need to let go of or modify, potentially to create a values list that does serve us. And then what we need to do is, once we've got that vision, Once we've got those values, we then start to say no to anything that doesn't align with our vision or our values. And that is how we prevent burnout. That is how we ensure that we're delivering the most value we can for ourselves and for our business. And that is how we can make sure that we perform at our very best.